last year during the pandemic, Richard Milan, who I've known kind of on the periphery, he was in the West End when I was up in the West End, and I've followed his career and been a fan of his work, and he's just a super cool guy. He got in contact and said, I'm moving back to Swansea, and I'm going to put something together. His story, like myself, was from a kind of a very low income family. By hook or by crook, found his way into the business, and he was into coming back and putting something back into the arts, especially in our fantastic hometown, which has been, an abundance of amazing talent ever since I was a kid, and way before, obviously, with bands like Man and just amazing kind of music that came out of here, and poetry and art and actors. And I used to do this preamble when we were touring. I remember being in America once, and we had a song all about Swansea called Roll Like a Stone, the Stories did. And I used to do this preamble to the song about where we lived and be in this kind of tiny little place that really punched above its weight in talent. And I'd name poets and singers, and Anthony Hopkins up the road, and Richard Burton, and Dylan Thomas and Bonnie Tyler. And I used to do this thing, and then and it's from this little tiny town. And I used to say, I wonder if it's because people wanted to escape the town, so they had to kind of write their way out or sing their way out of town and get over the bridge, and because there was, Dylan famously said it's the graveyard of ambition, and I don't believe that at all. I think there's an apathy in kind of just in Welsh people anyway. I think we're slightly nervous about saying how good we are, because we don't like to brag, unlike other the Irish or whatever tell you how good they are, and which is great. I'm not adverse to all of that. And I used to say a band like Badfinger, for example, if this was Ireland, there'd be a museum to Badfinger, and we just about managed to get a blue plaque for Pete Ham up the road, which is crazy, really. But I think it's part of this in-baked kind of Welsh, a little bit of apathy, but more, we don't like to brag, we don't like to say how good we are. When we are great. There's been so much amazing talent coming out of here. So we did this preamble to the song, and people would come up to me at the end of the song and say, are you making that up? And I'd be like, well, no, that is the truth. We come from a place, and I used to say that there's probably something in the water here, and there probably is something in the water. There's always been an incredible array of talent in this area, and Wales in general, but certainly in South Wales. So when Rich came to me a year or so ago and said, look, I want to put something together and to kind of help the arts and help the creative arts, are you in? I'm like, man, that's really up my street, because for the last few years I've been helping produce the next kind of cool singer-songwriters, and there's a folk band I'm working with from West Wales called The Meadows that I'm really into, and I love talent, and I love shining a light on it. And I've been in the business for 30 years this year, and I've seen a lot of things, and I've stepped in a lot of puddles that I shouldn't have stepped in, and if I can just show, just guide the next generation to an easier kind of an easier route through the business, because it's a tough old game, and you've got to be built in a certain way, I think, to kind of sustain it and be in it, and you've got to be hardwired in a different way. So I was like, yeah, Rich, I'm on board. So he came, put something together. The council got on board straight away, which is amazing. And when I've talked about this creative collective to other people in other parts of the country, they're like, what? The council are involved and they're investing in it? And I'm like, yeah. And that's kind of pretty unheard of, which is amazing. And, I feel very lucky that we have a great, creative, forward-looking bunch of people in the council in Swansea. There's a lot of stuff happening in Swansea. I think over the next 10, 15 years, it will be kind of one of Britain's premier destinations for the arts. We've got this amazing new arena that's going up, new rock and roll venues all over the place, bands that are amazing. There's a kid called Joe Bayliss here who's been working with the Swansea Fringe for a few years, and I went to see the Fringe during the kind of pandemic times, and I can't tell you how much it blew my mind. The bands out there and the kids who are playing just amazing songs and writing all their own songs. I got shivers thinking about it. It just blew my mind. So we're doing really well. So if I can be a little part of that next generation come through, especially in a beautiful venue like this, and I'd love to, with the company we put together, Grand Ambition, with Michelle McTurnan and Christian Patson, two other brilliant actors, if we can kind of help bring some new talent through the doors here onto this beautiful stage, we want to kind of bring together different genres, smash them together and see what happens. You know, we recorded a rap guy from Swansea called Mose last week on the stage, and seeing an absolutely cutting edge contemporary young kid in this beautiful theatre, that kind of juxtaposition of his music, which I don't quite understand because I'm an old fart, but just seeing, I just know it's good, but just seeing that kind of him in this place was just really exciting. And yeah, all the collaborations that we're going to try and bring through the doors, and just kind of, and you know, and a breath of fresh air maybe into the theatre, and see what will happen. So I'm really excited to see what Rich, Michelle, Christy and myself, in collaboration with everybody here and the council, can conjure. I think there's a deep magic, there's a deep love with us all for the theatre. Everyone who works here has a deep love for the bones of this place. And looking back, you know, it kind of loomed very large in my life. So we're here for the next 12 months at least to see what would happen. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen.